Hello and welcome back to the Tea and a Butty podcast. I'm Dominic.
And I'm Erica.
And today we're going day 2 of our UK trip. We're just recapping for everybody's benefit.
We're still in the UK.
We're still in the UK, but we're recapping our early days in the UK.
We still have not the most professional setup.
Oh, we have the most professional setup.
I feel like it's really echoey in here. I don't know.
Very echoey. They probably can hear the echo. It's giving us a nice reverb, isn't it? Yes.
Anyway,
we went day 2, we went to Windsor.
Yes.
Windsor and Eton.
We woke up, I don't remember what time our thing was.
There's also a YouTube video if you want to go watch it as well. So
there's a YouTube video?
Yeah, so check us out at Tea and a Butty.
Yes. We have a TikTok.
Yes.
We have Instagram.
Yeah.
You can find pictures and videos and all the things everywhere.
Yeah.
So, anyway, let's get on with it.
Day 2 was Windsor, and we got up kind of early, and I was like, okay, we got bags of time because the train, because where we were in Earl's Court, we had to get the train to Paddington.
Yeah.
And then that would get us to Windsor.
And the tube, you guys, I mean,
it got us to Slough.
I cannot stress how great this location was, because the tube station was literally right around the corner.
Oh, yeah.
So it was just like, it was perfect.
Absolutely fantastic it was.
Yeah.
And so, we got up and we had to get the tube, and I was like, okay, we got bags of time, but
we couldn't take a tube to Windsor. It was an actual train.
Yes, we had to get a tube from Earl's Court to Paddington, and then get on an actual train at Paddington to go to Slough, then change at Slough to go to Windsor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's coming back to me now.
It's coming back to you now.
We've done so much on this trip, you guys.
Yes, we've done a lot. There's a lot. It's all merged.
It's all blurring together.
It's all melding into one, you see. Yeah. But, we got up, and the train, the train was due at like 11 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. Something like that.
Yes, and I did not know what time it was. So we got out of the hotel.
She never knows what time it is. What time is it? And I was like, it's the same time it was.
I just rely on you to tell me how much time, when we have to leave.
And I stupidly said, don't worry, we have plenty of time.
So I'm just like,
because we were up at 7 o'clock, you see.
Yeah.
And, I was like, oh, we have plenty of time. You can shower, you can get dressed, and we can get the tube. And it's only like a 10-minute, well, not even a 10-minute tube. It's like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But, yes, she took all the time.
So I'm just
and then it was like,
slow.
okay, we need to get to the tube. We probably need to get to the
tube
station.
And so we leave the hotel room, and I'm like, oh, are we gonna stop and get breakfast? Like, where do you want to stop and get breakfast?
No time for breakfast. There's no time to go now. We've got to go.
Yeah.
You've used up every bit of the time allotted.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's my fault because I said you had lots of time, and you were like, okay, you ran with that.
Well, you also have to keep in mind and give yourself plenty of time. Like, the tube is great to get around. It's very convenient and everything, but you have to...
Delays and...
Well, not delays, but, like, they make stops, They make stops in between wherever you're going to get off.
Well, yeah.
And sometimes there's several stops.
Yeah.
And, it's just, like, it does take some time, so you have to give yourself time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, you do have to give yourself time.
Fast forward, we got on the tube.
Yeah,
we got on the tube. We made it.
We made
our train.
Well, that was a little bit of a thing because we had to go through Paddington. You were like, Dominic, how do I do this? Because I've got the tickets on the... I've got the tickets on the phone, you see. And I didn't send her ticket, So it's like, you go through they've got barriers set up at these train stations. So, it's all technological now, whereas tickets are on your phone or your ticket's got a barcode.
Last time I was here, I had my little ticket. And
you had a paper ticket.
You stick it in the machine and it goes bloop and sticks it back up and you get it and go.
Well, yeah.
And I had my own ticket.
Yeah.
And it was very convenient. But no, this time...
I've got them all on the phone.
So we've got to pass the phone back and forth.
Yeah, because I go bleep through the thing and then I give it to her, to do bleep,
Yeah.
And I just, how do I do this? I was like, just let me do it, you know, because we were like, oh, the train's on the platform, it's ready to go, you know.
Yeah.
But we got on the train fine.
Yes.
And it was a nice, easy, gentle ride out to Slough, where we had to get off and
There were a couple, I just remember that there were a couple of guys on the train that were like across the aisle from us.
Oh, yeah.
And they were in suits and
and
they were like
civil servants.
Yeah. They work in Parliament, you know.
Oh, the government.
They work in, they work in the Houses of Parliament in some.
Well,
capacity.
Civil servants, they go back and forth.
Oh, they were talking about something or other that they were trying to get passed, and the Prime Minister, you know, said this to them, and the one guy was more important than the other guy.
He was like a top civil servant. He was trying to say, yes.
He got back from Washington, and
he was showing
the other guy his pictures of him with Joe Biden.
Oh yes, this is me and Joe hanging out, having iced tea on the White House lawn, you know. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
The guy was like, oh, yeah. It's like, I can tell that's been Photoshopped, but whatever.
I didn't know. It was just very, like, I just felt like, yeah, you're saying all this stuff.
But they were saying it all, like, I mean, he wasn't, like, talking loudly so other people would overhear.
Yeah.
It was more...
But he wasn't talking lowly either.
He wasn't talking lowly either.
And they were talking about some...
A little bit of a humble brag. You know,
yes.
Like,
talking about some initiative.
Joe Biden said to me,
some initiative that they're trying to get passed, and they're gonna have a function, and it's not open to the general public because it's just, you know, very important people that are invited.
They were a couple of civil servants. It seemed to me, you know, they worked in Whitehall.
They were going to Windsor though, and
because they've got some kind of conference that was happening there. Yeah, of course, because heads of state and all that, you know, and they were talking about that because, we always go up to Windsor and stuff.
The hotel we're staying is right across the street from the castle, and
everything is right across the street from the castle. Yeah. That's pretty much the whole town.
Yeah, once we got there, we saw.
So I wanted to say to him, everything's across the street from the castle.
You didn't know that until we got there, though. But yeah, no, once we got there, literally everything is across the street from the castle. It's a very small town.
It's very small. Yeah. I mean, that's why, like, Eton is literally right across the water, you know, right across the bridge.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you'll see in the YouTube video, and you'll see on if you've been there, you know, let us know if you've been to Windsor and Eton.
So when we got to Windsor, it's this train station. It seemed bigger when we arrived than it actually was.
It was the big...
it's because it has sort of like this shopping center attached to it. It makes it feel like,
it's market,
it's a big train station. It's not really.
It's not. It's like very rural.
Yeah. And so we went into the town because we were hungry, because we hadn't had breakfast. And so this was like, what, an hour later? Hour and a half.
It was we got to Windsor about 12:30 because we had a ticket to get inside the castle for about 1:30. I was like, okay, yeah, we'll get there in plenty of time. We'll have a bit of lunch and then we'll join the queue and get in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we went and tried to find somewhere to eat. It's quite touristy, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was billions of people there.
Yeah, billions of people. The shops and the places to eat are all very, like...
touristy.
Yeah.
They're there for the tourists.
Yeah.
I think we just got fish and chips, didn't we?
No, we went in like a quasi kind of Greg's kind of place.
Oh, that's it. What was it called? Yes.
It was like it wasn't like a chain.
It wasn't Pound Bakery. It was something else. I don't know. If you're from Windsor, you'll know it. It was in the high street. And they did it was a chain, and they did a pretty good sandwich, and, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if we took pictures or footage or anything.
Baguette or something I got, and you got something else, didn't you?
Yeah.
Sausage
I got
roll?
Something else.
Oh, no,
it wasn't. It was a sausage roll.
What was it? It was a baguette. You're coming around to British sausage.
I'm coming around to British sausage.
The Lincolnshire sausage you had last night.
But, anyway, so we ate, and then we were like, okay, let's go wander around a little bit. But then we noticed people lining up, and we were like, okay, what is this line?
What's this line?
And we walked toward it, and the woman was like, oh, yeah. And I think I asked her, like, what?
Are you in line for the castle 12:30?
Like, how do we get in?
It was like 12:30.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, yeah, if you've got tickets for
the castle
1:30 or whatever, this is the line.
Line up now.
This is the queue for you.
Queue here now.
And, oh, my God, there was this group of, like...
There was this group of day trippers behind us.
Of British people from somewhere else in the country. And
they were from...
they were just appalled that they had tickets to get in and they still had to queue. And they just could not believe it.
I was like, we're queuing in the sun. It's very sunny. And it's very hot. And why are they making us queue? And the guy's like, yeah, if you want to run a business, do it properly, innit?
Oh, my God. You guys, we were in this queue for like... I don't know, 10 minutes.
10 minutes, because as soon as it started going, everyone was allowed
and then
in.
And then we went in, yeah. It was
but they were like, oh no,
minutes.
we have to queue.
But
But
it was 10 minutes of nonstop complaining from this group of people. I was like, oh my God. At first it was kind of funny. Because it's like...
look, she's going up that way. She was like, she's going up that way. What's she know?
How are they getting in?
How are they getting in? They're fast track, you see. Because one of them said, they're fast track, or they're something else.
No, they probably had tickets for the earlier time slot, and they're just here late.
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
So
they're like, oh.
Yeah.
Why can't we go straight in then?
God. It was exhausting.
It's because you're in the queue.
I was laughing at first because it was so very stereotypically British, but... After a while, it just got. I wanted to turn around.
The guy was getting annoyed, even and he was getting wound up by the women, because there was two women who were wittering on about it.
No, they were all complaining.
He started getting wound up by it, and he was just like, "Oh well, what can you do?" But then they were like, "Oh, I can do this," and they're not doing it properly, and and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, if you want to run a business, run it properly." Because he kept saying that. And I was like, yes, you've said that about 1,200 times, mate.
Anyway.
You sound like a bloody broken record now.
Yes. And then we were finally let in, which basically they just looked at our ticket as far as
we went through a security.
Did we?
Yeah, we went through bleepers and all that.
We went through bleepers.
Scanners and stuff, and that was it. Yeah.
Oh, yes, because somebody had a...
They had a pram.
Yes, they had a stroller,
and I don't know if they couldn't speak English too well, or they were just kind of like not understanding what she was asking. She was like, "Just push the pram through, and you stop there."
Yeah.
But she was like, "Oh no!"
And she just kept going back and forth with this freaking stroller.
And they were just like, "You stay there," and she was like, "Yeah, no." And then she started to think, oh, wait a minute, is she trying to pull something? She's trying to hide something.
Oh, she did not. She was just getting frustrated because it was like, oh my God.
The people who were complaining were kind of like looking at it like, oh, she's trying to pull something.
No, I don't know. But she was just going back and forth through the security. It's like, no, push the stroller through and then you go through. Oh, okay, push the stroller through. And then she would just walk straight through and then, no, go back.
Right,
and so
go back. And then
she'd leave the stroller there and then she'd go back through.
Eventually she was just like, oh, you know what? Just go on. Collect your stuff and go on. And the woman was laughing, and it's just like, yeah.
Yeah. She then said to us, because we were directly behind the woman, like, she was kind of like, oh, sorry, and it was like,
sorry about that.
I wasn't, that
was not your fault. Do you want me to go back and go through? Should I go back and go through?
Oh, jeez. But yeah, so we had to
knock-on effect,
We had to put our stuff on the conveyor belt so it could go through security, and then we went through security. They have that kind of at all of these. It was a big at all of these
palaver.
They have that at all of the big tourist attractions nowadays. So it was not that big a deal. But and then you get in, and it's just sort of like, okay, now what? Where do we go? And there were all these people that were like lined up,
scratching their heads.
No, there were all these people that were lined up, and so we were kind of like, oh, should we get in line? Because we had already been through. We were in now. We were like, oh, should we get in line or what? And I think I think we asked them, or somebody asked them, what is this line for? And the people were like, I don't know.
I just saw a line and I got on the end of it.
I don't know. And so one of the Windsor Castle people were like, oh, if you
have tickets,
you just come on, you don't have to queue
up. You don't have to queue up. Stop queuing up. Why are you queuing up?
Yeah. And I was like,
it's like, no, people are just queuing up because they're queuing up.
I was like, oh my God, this is just the most British thing ever. Like, people just see a line and they just get in line, like
they don't even know what they're queuing up for. They could be queuing up for a beheading. It's like, oh, yeah, we're getting chopped off. Our head's getting chopped off. Oh, well, I'm in the wrong queue then, aren't I?
It's not time for my head to get chopped off until 2:30.
Yes. That's what it was.
Oh, my God. So I don't know. We just started wandering around. We had these tickets that had access to. You could get tickets that had more access to more areas of the castle, but we just
couldn't get access all areas tickets. Though.
No.
You're not going to get in to see the actual.
See where they live,
the private apartments that they've got because they're all gated off and you can't see them. So,
but they do have
And no, none of them were there.
Yeah.
Because I think when they're there, they don't let them, they don't let them in or something. They don't let tourists in.
I don't know about that. Because, where they live is a completely different section than the parts you can tour.
But it's a security issue too, I think. They don't want someone...
They've got everything gated off. There's the little palace guards with the red coats and the fuzzy hats. There's
Yeah, you loved
the whole thing. So we just kind of... So then we became the other people that were just queuing and they didn't know what they were queuing for. And we just started following people who were going to the church that was there on the castle grounds. And I was like, oh, that's the church where they had Prince Philip's funeral. That's the church where Harry and Meghan got married.
St. George's Chapel.
Yeah. And I was like, I want to go see that. And Dominic was like, I can't remember.
Because there was a bunch of extras you could put on, you could have this tour of the kitchens or something.
Yeah.
There was a kitchens tour and there was this tour and that tour. And I was like, I just want the basic ticket. I'll just do that. So I figured it was just wandering around, seeing the state apartments, and that was it.
Yeah.
But, so we went down there and we got on the end of this queue and we were let through. And I was like, it must have been included in the ticket then.
Yeah.
So we got to see where Harry and Meghan were married and half the royal family is buried,
And we had planned on filming a vlog there, for YouTube. And I don't know why. It did not occur to me that we were not going to be able to film inside any of these places.
We could film in the foreground. We pretty much the vlog is entirely in the courtyard of the castle, you know. Because everywhere you go in, they're like, no phones, no photography, no videoing.
No videos, no pictures.
No pictures. So we had to sneak what we could, but we couldn't. We couldn't vlog anything,
No, because people were trying to take pictures and trying to film and
then
stuff.
Someone would jump on them and go, "Yeah, what are you doing there, boy?"
Yeah. Yeah. So we were let into St. George's Church. Is that what it's called? Chapel. St. George's Chapel.
St. George's Chapel, yeah.
We were let in, and it was absolutely beautiful. But they've got everything how would you say it?
Roped off.
You go.
They've got a set they've got a maze for all the tourists to follow.
They've got a path.
Yeah. So you go around. You go snake through here. You're not allowed to deviate off of it. Because they had people there.
Yeah, walking around,
making
take
sure.
Your hat off.
Take your hat off, talking to people, and volunteers.
Yes, yeah. I'm assuming that the people that were in the chapel though are they're deacons and stuff. I don't know if there's deacons in the English church, they're because they had the robes on and stuff they work in the church, not just for the trust. I don't know what was it? The
National Trust.
The National Trust,
I think it might have been English Heritage. Or maybe I'm thinking of Stonehenge.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think actually the trust have it because it's it's like owned by the royal family still. You know, it's still in operation.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They were just like the
royal
Windsor Castle.
palaces.
Yeah, royal palaces, royal commission, royal.
It was like royal
trust,
palaces,
heritage,
or something like that. I think.
I don't know. You'll find it.
You'll find
out if you go there.
Yeah, but so just so everybody's looking around the church. Then you turn this kind of corner when you're in the main area of the church. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know technical words for inside these chapels, you guys. And right to the right, it was like there's like a tomb there. And if you've been in any of these old cathedrals all around Europe, you know that they buried and continue to bury sometimes people they're actually in the chapels or in the churches or in the cathedrals. So there's this tomb, and it's like there's, they have the statue, would you call it?
Like the marble top.
Yeah. It looks like a casket.
Yeah.
It's like
and then they have a top of like, what they look like or whatever. Yeah.
And they look like they're laying across the top of it. Yeah. I'm not using my words here.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's like a top of the tomb. It's like a
statue
type thing.
Yes, and so we're like looking at it, and sometimes there are people like Lord so and so, and it's like you have no idea who that person is.
The
Duke of whoever, wherever. But this was freaking Queen Mary, wasn't it?
Queen Mary
and her husband, which were Queen Elizabeth's grandparents.
Yes.
Right? So like King George
the Fifth.
Don't look at me like I should know who these people are. I'm not British.
I mean, I don't know who they are, and I'm British, so it's just like, King George V and Queen Mary of Teck. I think her name was Queen Mary of Teck. I mean, I'm not a big royal head. I don't really know who these people are, or their lineage and all that. They were in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't know they were there. Mm-hmm. And then we walked on, and there was Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother.
Yeah.
And King George VI.
Did we see them?
Yeah.
They
said hello to us. What are you talking about?
No, they had a tomb like that.
They had a tomb like that.
Okay,
yeah.
I don't remember that part.
Because then we got to see I can't remember. It was someone else. I'm not sure it was. Maybe it was. It wasn't the Duke of Windsor. I think he's buried out in Windsor Great Park somewhere.
Okay.
He's not actually in the chapel. Or the castle grounds.
But I was like, holy crap, like they're just right there, and
they're just right there. There
might have been like a little bit of a rope or something in between,
queens.
But you can. I don't know. It's just bizarre.
You could reach out and touch them, but you'll get a telling off. From
I couldn't. I don't know. Could you?
Yeah, you could. You were that close.
No. I mean, would you get told off if you touched them? I couldn't.
Yeah, you would.
I can't remember.
Yeah. I think someone did try, and they were like, they didn't go, like they do in the Louvre or anything like that. But they do go, excuse me, no.
Yeah.
Do not touch.
So it's like, holy kind of crap, because it was just very weird. It's like, whether you're into the royal family or not, it's like, it's historical. These people were kings and queens, and they're just right there in the same room with you, It's bizarre. And then you keep walking, and you go through this door then, and it says a thing like, please be respectful,
please be quiet and respectful.
Be quiet. This is a place of
no photography.
Yeah, no photography. But also like kind of keep moving. Take your time, but keep moving.
Keep moving.
Just don't just stand here all day.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay. And
because we went, and then we went past this door, and there was a woman there, and she was kind of like, "Come on, keep it moving," and I was like, "What's going on?" And because people were like, "Oh,"
People were really standing
there and looking into this kind of like catacomb tomb type thing.
Yeah, like a little room.
Yeah, it was like a little room. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh.
And there were all candles in there.
Candles.
So you went into this, like, I've got to describe this better. It's sort of like you go through this doorway, and then it's like a hallway. The room becomes a little bit darker. So before that, you're sort of in an open chapel type area where there's all the seating, like a normal church, but you're going in this hallway that goes around the perimeter of the church where people sit. And so you keep going along that side. That's where Queen Mary and everybody's buried there. And then you go through this doorway, and it gets a little bit darker. They've got it a bit darker in there,
Yeah.
There's windows still and lights coming in, but it's a little bit darker. It's like kind of calming, and it's a hallway, and there are rooms off of this hallway that are, what word did you use a minute ago?
Catacombs.
Yeah.
They're like little, like private kind of like. Yeah,
like rooms, like a room tombs. For tombs. Yeah, like
they're private tombs. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and so the first one that's right there that everybody was like stopped at, and the woman was kind of like, "Please keep moving,"
Keep moving, she was just like, "Come on,
keep the line moving, please." She was being nice, but she was definitely like, "Move it along," because there were a freaking lot of people.
People were like,
And it was because Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip are buried in that room.
Yes, they're buried in that room.
They're buried in that room. They're in the room. They're right there. They're in the ground, but they're in the room.
There's a tomb there, yeah, and you can see the writing and everything on it. And it was like, oh, they're here,
Yeah.
So there we are.
So there they are, yeah. And I think that her dad was in the room across that hallway.
No.
That's where her parents were. They weren't out in the main room.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of George V and Mary of Teck.
She was like, Queen Mary was here, and then he was there if you kept walking. And then when you went into that hallway, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip were in this room over here. And then her parents were in this room. Across the hallway from them.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of crazy.
That was kind of crazy.
And there were other
couldn't dawdle there.
Yeah, and obviously no pictures or anything, like what did it pics or it didn't happen.
Yeah, no, I mean you buy the ticket to get in, and I mean it's quite a reasonable price. I mean, really, I can't remember how much it was.
Oh, it totally was, I think. I mean, considering we got to see that, that was just crazy.
Yeah. And then you go further on up, and you've got more branches of the royal family that you don't know, the Duke and Duchess of Kirkcaldy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, they're not like the big wigs. I think William IV was in there. Maybe I'm thinking of.
I think a lot of people were in there.
Well, I don't know who was in there. William III, maybe someone. Charles I, maybe.
No, I don't.
But I don't know. But yeah, anyway, we get into you go up that thing, and then you come into the actual chapel with the checkerboard, chessboard floor.
Yeah.
And the altar and the pews and everything like that, and that's the famous one, that everybody knows. That's because that's where Duke of Edinburgh was buried.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's his funeral.
His funeral, yeah. Harry and Meghan were wed there.
Yeah.
And that was the big event.
Yeah,
so you could go in there and you could sit down on, well, not, you couldn't go to one of the back of the pews, but you could sit down on the thing and let people pass.
Yeah.
And so we just sat down because, our legs were killing us because we were just kind of walking all day and whatever.
Well,
so we sat down and we was like,
to me, I wanted to just sit down because it's like the royal wedding and Prince Philip's funeral were not that long ago, really.
Well, no.
And everybody was in this room. And so I was like, let's just sit down and soak in the atmosphere.
Yeah. Soak in the atmosphere with all the other people who were in there with us, you know. And they were just like, where are we? Yeah, that's where Harry and Meghan.
And so I snuck a little picture of where they would have been standing when they were getting married.
Yeah.
Which there were other people there, but, whatever.
There's a big waxwork figure of Meghan there. And it's big, it's massive. It takes up the whole chapel. And then there's a small one of Harry next to it. Just her face is just there,
But yeah, so we're just sitting there, we're soaking up the atmosphere. And then all of a sudden we notice on the ground, literally right in front of us.
There was like a tomb on the ground, that people could walk.
Oh, there's tombs all over.
And we didn't even notice that we'd sat down next to it until I looked, and then I was like, oh, who's this then? It's just some...
Yeah, we're sitting there, we might as well read it.
Beneath this site, this spot, are the remains of King Henry VIII.
Freaking...
And his wife, Jane Seymour.
Yeah.
And I think William IV and someone else, maybe Charles I.
Oh, I thought it was just King Henry VIII and his...
No, there was other people there. We got a photo of it. We managed to snag a photo.
Yeah.
And I'm presuming that's where Meghan's going to be buried too.
Shut up. Literally right in front of where we were sitting, King Henry VIII. Here lies the remains of King Henry VIII and his wife, Jane Seymour.
Yeah.
It was... I mean, my jaw was just...
King Henry VIII is here. And then there was people going past, and I'm like, King Henry VIII. Oh, yes. Oh, okay. And they were kind of like edging around the side of it so to not walk over the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, you can walk over it. I don't think he minds now.
Well, the thing is in these, again, if you've been to old cathedrals, old churches and everything... The whole floor is tombs, so it's a little bit difficult to not walk on them. I know people get a bit like, oh, it's disrespectful, but it's like, I mean, where are you going to walk then? Like literally one right after the next, it's people buried there. Yeah. So it's like, just say you're sorry and go on,
Yeah, so,
excuse me. I say excuse me.
Henry VIII, And you could see people were just kind of like, oh yeah, that king, that King Henry VIII, that's the one that everybody knows.
Yeah,
the most famous king of all time.
Literally of all time.
Yeah,
the most famous.
I'm king. Henry VIII. I am.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know where Elizabeth is though. Elizabeth I now.
Yeah.
I don't think she's not in there.
I don't know.
She might be in Westminster Abbey.
You know what?
She might be in Richmond.
I think she might be in Westminster Abbey, yes.
I think yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say Winston
I kind of wanted to do Westminster Abbey, but since we did Windsor, I thought, we'll just do one or the other this time, and something else the next time. But,
yeah, we'll kind of have to do Westminster Abbey now because,
Yeah.
That's where it's all gone down, isn't it?
Yeah. There's all kinds of people buried in Westminster Abbey, though.
Yeah, all kinds of people, not just royals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of prime ministers.
Is Shakespeare buried in there?
No, I think. Oh, I don't know. He might be.
I think he is.
I don't know.
We're getting wildly off topic now, but anyway, yeah, freaking Henry VIII.
Freaking Henry VIII.
Literally at our feet.
At our feet.
I mean, just bizarre. Like, there really are not any words to describe it.
Yeah, it was weird. We were just talking to him a month ago.
Well, no, it's weird that we're just sitting there, like, soaking up the
ambiance
atmosphere and the history, and then happen to, like, oh, well, who's this tomb then, Because it made me wonder then, like, because there was no big deal whatsoever made about the fact that he was right there. It made me wonder, who else did we, like, walk across and didn't notice, you know what I mean? Because, like, there are a lot of names in the ground to, like, stop and read every single one of them.
Yes.
Like, who knows? I mean, I'd have to Google who else is buried in there,
Who's in Windsor.
But so then you finish that. It seems like there was something else particular about that chapel before we left, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much history.
Much history. So much to take in. You really need, like, you could do, like, 2 days at Windsor if you were really into that stuff.
Yeah.
To really cover the whole
I think so, yeah, because like you said before, we didn't do the like the kitchens tour and stuff, which I think kind of sounds kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, it was like,
Yeah.
I think they do that now because of Downton Abbey and all that, like, everybody wants to go see the kitchens, of all these big
But it's a medieval
places.
castle at the end of the day, so like it would have been maybe kitchens that were like preparing Henry VIII's meals, you know what I mean?
Well, maybe even William the Conqueror, because it was him that built that place.
Was it?
Yeah.
God, yeah.
With his own 2 hands. He was up 5 o'clock in the morning, the planes were flying overhead, and he was like, I don't know why I'm bothering.
The planes, yeah.
To build this castle on the Heathrow flight path. But you know what? What the hell? I'm here.
So we left the chapel. We wandered around then to the staterooms. The entrance to the staterooms.
And they're just kind of like they're kind of like, they're open to the public. They're where the old kings and queens used to stay, before it became a tourist, tourism kicked off. And I'm presuming the tourism kicked off shortly after Queen Victoria died. I don't know when they opened up Windsor Castle to the public anyway. Well, that portion of it anyway. But that was where all the old kings and queens were dressed.
That's what it was.
And what?
It was something to do with Albert?
Oh.
Was it where he was buried?
No.
There was that last room before we walked out, remember?
It was
something to do with Prince Albert.
Because Queen Victoria isn't buried there.
No, she's not, but is he?
He would be buried with her.
Yeah, they wouldn't be. No. Maybe it was their kids.
Their kids.
It might have been a few of their kids.
A few of their kids, yeah.
That's what it was. And that was a huge room.
Victoria, I have no idea where she is buried. I think she might be in Westminster Abbey with Albert.
No, she's on the grounds, isn't she? Because we watched
that's
thing
right,
of Prince Philip going,
he was like, that's where she is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the grounds are huge.
Yeah.
And you'd have to, a lot of them
there's grounds that the public can wander, and then there's grounds that
there's Windsor Great Park.
And then there's grounds that are like just for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's buried there somewhere. Yeah, because I remember him
like
going,
Frogmore Cottage and Frogmore something, yeah. Because there's Windsor Great Lodge and there's Windsor Lodge, and I think that's...
But that's what it was. It was a room that was, like, a few of their kids were buried in that room. And that was a room that was probably 3 or 4 times the size of Queen Elizabeth's and Prince Philip's room. It was big.
Yeah, it was huge.
Okay, so that's what it was. So we left there. We went to the staterooms. The staterooms, I think, were last used by Queen Mary and King George, I think.
Oh, so that's when it was being opened.
I think that's how they had it set up. Yeah. Anyway.
So from
what I remember.
So that would have been 1930s then.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pre-war, just before Edward VIII, for people who don't know, he was Queen Mary and King George V were the parents of George VI and Edward VIII.
Yeah.
And Edward VIII abdicated, as we know.
Yeah. So they were Queen Elizabeth's grandparents.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically the staterooms were like where they, like the dining rooms where they meet with...
Where they have the dignitaries in, they get Biden in and say, this castle, well, how old is it, man? It's impressive, isn't it?
And I have a feeling they still use those rooms.
It's to impress visiting dignitaries, to go, hey.
And that's all I was thinking about when we were looking at them. I was just thinking about in The Crown, like, I'll have them over.
I'll have Jackie Kennedy over. Because she's annoyed me, and I'll impress her with all my finery and my castle. Because I've got a castle and you haven't.
My
You've got a dinky place on freaking Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah. So, there's like... I want to call it a little ballroom.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a huge room, but, you've got all the chandeliers, and then you can see their bedrooms and their dressing rooms. And their offices and all of that kind of stuff. So it's just like room after room after room after room. And you're looking at all of these rooms and they're absolutely gorgeous. You know, they have ceilings painted like basically the Sistine Chapel style. Yeah. Like they're just beautiful, beautiful rooms. And you're just like, well, what in God's name is in the part of the palace where they actually still live then? Like, I want to know what... Oh, and...
It all hasn't been updated since the 1970s, you know. It's all shag carpeting and all that kind of stuff. You know?
Over there, it looks all groovy in that part of the...
Yeah, groovy, man. I think Charles wants William and Kate to move in there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Take possession of it. That's your castle now. Yeah. That's where you operate from.
I don't know if they have.
I don't think they want to because it'll require a big staff and money and.
But yeah, so it was very interesting. I did just keep thinking of the crown though. So we looked at all of that stuff, and then you can come back outside, and there's like a courtyard where you can see the part of the castle where they actually live.
Yeah, you can see in the windows and everything.
and it's gated off. There's a big gate there. Where you can't get anywhere close to it.
Yeah.
There's guards outside of it and everything, as I mentioned before. There's food. There's like little food stalls. A couple different places. There's one inside.
Like cafe. Yeah, there's a cafe.
And there's one outside. And my God, the prices, you guys.
The prices are what I expected for that kind of place. You know?
Because we were like, it was a very hot day. And
it's like £8 for a cream scone.
Or for like a bottle of water.
Yeah.
We were like, we need something to drink here,
you know.
They
were like, okay, £4.
But, yeah. So,
but they went, if you want a cup of tea, that's £3.
Ice cream, £7.
It was something like, if you want a scone, that's going to be like £8.
And while we were sitting there resting our feet, because we're old people and our feet hurt after a while. Old. A couple of like, I guess, off-duty guards came out.
Oh, that's right.
And they kind of came into the crowd and everybody wanted a picture with them.
Yeah.
I can't remember. You could tell. I mean, they were obviously off-duty because they were like talking to people, which the guards
they were in
do.
uniform, but they didn't have the bear skins on.
That's it.
They had the uniform on. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were talking to everyone, just chatting, and like everybody wanted a picture with them.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I guess, why not? You're at the castle.
Yeah, why not?
and they're actual guards, so sure. So we just kind of sat there and watched everybody taking pictures with them and stuff for a while. And then we decided, okay, let's go see... I guess that was already after. That's why our feet hurt. After we did the staterooms...
What did we do then?
There was another exhibit that we had access to, which was Queen Mary's dollhouse.
And that's what everyone was queuing up for.
Yes. Yeah.
And the thing is, what we discovered then is, if you didn't want to see the dollhouse, you could just go in and do the stateroom, but you don't get to see the dollhouse.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to see the dollhouse and do the tour, then you had to queue up.
Yes.
So everyone queued up. And they should, can you see your tickets? I was like, oh God, what? You know, they're going to say, you haven't got access to this, or they're like, no, we just want to make sure that you're actually here
we queued
legally.
Up.
You've got a ticket and you haven't climbed the wall.
So it was forever to make it through all of the staterooms because there's a lot of rooms. And it was beautiful and it was worth it and I loved it and it was great. But then when we came back out, the queue to see Queen Mary's dollhouse was so long.
Yeah,
and I was
we stood in there about half an hour, I think.
It was like, okay, we've already paid for this, so we're going to see it, you know.
Yeah.
But what we didn't know was that, like Dominic just said, if you would have just queued in that from the first place, you would have seen the dollhouse, and then you could have gone on to see the staterooms.
Yeah.
So we'd already seen the staterooms, and now we had to wait in this freaking line for 30 minutes before we could get in to see the dollhouse.
Yeah.
And it was just very annoying because it was so, so hot. And you're just standing in line. Our feet already hurt. Like,
Yeah, because I mean,
we just
see
grew
the
up.
the dollhouse is pretty spectacular because it was built for them and it was a gift from the people of Windsor.
Well,
people of the UK or something. It was.
So in my head, I'm thinking, wow, this is gonna be super old. Like, this was Queen Mary's dollhouse. Like, I'm thinking this was her dollhouse when she was a kid. No. Like, I'm thinking we're gonna see something that's freaking super old, and it was gonna be really cool. This was made for Queen Mary in like the 1920s or something, like the 1930s.
It was like a gift to her from the people of the UK or the people of England or something.
It was a gift from somebody. I don't know if it was from the people of England, but
it was. It was like, to like show their appreciation of her.
And basically, it was
because she liked dollhouses.
And basically, it was a replica of their freaking Windsor Castle. It
was a replica, but it was like, it was the first doll's house to have like, it had running water, it had electric lights, it was like,
it was very, very cool.
If you were a normal kid and you got this, you'd be like, whoa, yeah, look at my dollhouse.
But nobody ever played with that stinking dollhouse.
No, they just put it on display each and every day.
So it was really, really cool because I, too, like dollhouses. I always have since I was a kid. But it was so annoying that this was not a dollhouse that anybody ever played with. Like, this was a dollhouse that was made for an adult, and they looked at it, and then they just stuck it somewhere, never to be touched. Stuck it in Windsor Castle. Never to be touched. No kid ever got to enjoy the electricity and the running water of this
They never played with it.
It was so annoying.
So that you got very irate and you demanded that they open up the casing and everything like that so you could go play with it for a little while.
It was very intricate, though. Obviously, they had little...
the models and everything, yeah.
Yeah, they had the little, like, back staircases that the servants would have used.
Oh, yeah.
They had the servants' quarters in there and everything, which we didn't get to see any of that kind of stuff at Windsor Castle. I would have been interested to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But they had all of that. They had little cars down at the bottom.
Yeah, it was everything was like handmade.
Oh, it was absolutely beautiful. I mean, it was worth the time.
And it was all in low light in there. Mm-hmm. And I guess because they don't want it to, like, get ruined by the light and everything,
And we stood in line for so long. I was like, I'm going to look at every floor of this castle. I'm going to look at every detail of this castle because I have been waiting in line for so stinking long. Like, there is not 1 inch of this castle that I am not going to see. And people were like pushing past us and like they were in a big hurry. And I was like, really? Like, we have been waiting in line for freaking eons and like you're not that interested in looking at this dollhouse.
Well,
like,
and a couple of them were like, well, what's this? Oh, it's a dollhouse.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care.
Just kind of, like they were just in a hurry to get around it. And I don't know. I was just like, no, I'm going to stand here for a good 20 minutes and stare at every inch of this stinking dollhouse. And then you get out and there's like some of the little figures and furniture and stuff like that on display. Yeah. So it was all very interesting. But once we finished that, it was like, oh, now you can go on to see the staterooms. So we were like, we already seen the staterooms. How do we get out of here?
We went through the cafe, didn't we?
I think so. Yeah. We took some cheat cut because I was like, I am not walking all the way through all of those staterooms for miles and miles of staterooms. King Charles
personal lawn or something we went to.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So we did all that and then we went outside. We finished, basically. We saw everything that we were allowed to see.
And then it was on to Eton.
Yeah. So we went to Eton and Dominic's a big James Bond and who else? Who went to
Boris
Eton?
Johnson fan. Yeah. No. I mean, who else went to Eton? I mean, a fair few people went there. But most of the prime ministers of the 20th century went there.
Basically, they have really good signage. So it's just like, this way to Eton,
I mean, that's the main draw of Eton. It's a very small village. We ate there.
Yeah. You just follow the signs and you cross this little bridge. And it's a very picturesque kind of little scenery
The school was closed to the public. And then, so we'd got a little bit of footage of it, and, we just kind of took some pictures, but our feet by then were just knackered, You sat on that wall for ages, and we just decided, we'll go and get some food in Eton before we go home, because we had an open return on the train.
And the village, would you call it a village?
It's a village, yeah.
The village of Eton was very picturesque.
It was picturesque.
I was annoyed that my feet hurt so much because I would have liked to have wandered around there some, but...
I mean, ideally, you should drive there, really. Drive, but then again, people over here would say, and where are you going to park? Yeah. Because you'd have to pay to park, and you may as well get the train.
I don't see there's any reason to drive there. I mean, what... You're still gonna... Well, if you're going to Windsor Castle, drive to Windsor?
Drive to Windsor, yeah.
Well, you're still gonna have to walk for hours around Windsor Castle. Your feet are still gonna hurt, so...
But you'll have the car to get in afterwards then, you see?
And Eton is not far. Like, it's literally just over the bridge, so, I mean...
Yeah.
I don't know.
We walked across, obviously, and... Yeah, and I mean, there's got the little high street, Windsor, and then you just keep walking out, and you're just a little bit... out, and then you see the college, Eton College.
Yeah.
And many famous people went there, fictional and non-fictional, so.
Yeah. Did Ian Fleming go there?
Yes.
Okay, well, there you go.
There you go. James Bond author Ian Fleming went to Eton.
Yeah.
Several, William and Harry went to Eton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's a
Boris Johnson, David Cameron.
I think you do you are a big Boris fan, aren't you? That's the second time you mentioned him.
But, well, no, that's the first time, because it's like he's a big Etonian, isn't he?
Yes.
So, the Bullingdon Club.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a part in Harry's book where he mentions...
All the Tory prime ministers
went where he mentions... going to Eton and you kind of don't really realize how close it actually is to Windsor, and there probably is some hill or something that you can see that you can see the castle from, because it's that close, I mean when you're on the school the grounds, the campus or whatever. But yeah, so then we went to eat in an Italian restaurant.
That was because I was just like so down. I was like, let's just go in this one.
Dominic gets hangry. So when he is hangry, we have to find food and we have to feed him. We have to feed his hunger right then and there.
Well, people who will understand this, when the blood sugar gets low, you gotta eat. And I was like, okay, we're sitting down. I've expelled all my energy I can. I need to refuel. Yeah. So find me a restaurant.
So we found a pizza place.
A pizzeria in Eton.
And it was in this old what was obviously, it used to be an old pub.
It was a pub. The
outside and actually the inside too were very, very cool.
It must have been listed or something because they hadn't changed too much of the interior, or they just moved in.
Well, there was timber. I mean, I have a feeling it was quite an old building. We had high hopes for it.
We had high hopes for it because a couple of the guys in there spoke Italian.
They were genuinely Italian.
Genuinely Italian, speaking Italian to each other.
They were not British Italian. They were Italian. They had accents. So we were like, yay, we're going to get some good Italian food.
We got a Dr. Urca Ristorante pizza with a bit of bacon on top of it.
Yes.
And it was supposed to... McDonald's French fries.
Yes, pretty much.
That's what we got. We took a picture of it. It was okay. It filled a hole. It wasn't like, oh God, I can't eat this. It tastes terrible. No. But it was not what we were expecting.
There was absolutely nothing.
It would have made an actual Italian from Italy go, Mamma Mia. It would be Mamma Mia.
There was nothing authentic about it.
There was nothing authentic about this. And I mean, well, they wouldn't have liked it anyway because who gets chips with your pizza? Only British people.
Yes.
But they were like, oh no, this pizza is terrible.
We figured it was going to be like a
quality, blah, 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 blah.
We figured it was going to be like a personal size pizza because of the price. I can't remember how much it was.
Yeah.
So we went ahead and ordered a side of chips and drinks. And it came, and the chips were very much McDonald's French fries.
It was like they'd gone to McDonald's. I was like, where is a McDonald's here?
They smelled like McDonald's. They look like McDonald's.
But there is no McDonald's in Windsor or Eton.
I wouldn't think so.
No, you have to drive for miles to find one.
Yeah,
so they must have they must have gone over there.
They must buy them frozen or something.
Frozen from somewhere, yeah.
They tasted I've never tasted fries that tasted like McDonald's other than McDonald's. They came from McDonald's, those fries.
No, they came from McDonald's, yeah.
And the pizza was just the saddest little pizza. And it was supposed to have been...
prosciutto and...
mozzarella and prosciutto or something.
The
I can't remember
was back bacon.
It was bacon.
It was back bacon, yes.
Yeah.
Not prosciutto.
No, prosciutto's really thin and has a little bit of a different kind of taste to it.
Taste and texture.
Yeah.
That was bacon.
It was bacon.
It was bloody bacon.
It was big pieces of bacon.
It's like this. They would get destroyed.
We heard the guys talking to somebody at another table, and he was like, the owner, whoever the owner is, or somebody came in and they were like, oh, there's no Italians in here. There's no real Italians.
We're from the Netherlands. Yeah, there's no real Italians in here. Then it's like, oh well.
Yeah. So they decided, we'll get some we'll hire some real Italian guys. And
can you speak Italian? And you don't have to speak it to the customers. Just speak it so they can hear you.
Speak it to each other and have the accent
and we'll get people in. It was like a chain place.
It wasn't a chain though. I don't think it was just the food was like chain quality and. Obviously, they just hired a couple of Italian guys, and that was their only requirement to do the job.
Gino DeCampo should go there. Gino DeCampo should go there for a pizza. Gino, if you're listening to this, go there in Eton. You'll find it. It's right there. Just go in and order a pizza. And then
I can't remember the name of the place, but
take Gordon and Fred with you.
As Dominic said, it wasn't bad, but we do not recommend.
Do not recommend. Don't like.
Don't like it.
But yeah, that was it. That was the end of the trip.
That was pretty much Then we had to catch the train back. Only there was no train back.
Yeah, there was no train back, so we had to get the Elizabeth line. Oh, it was cancelled. Mm-hmm. And then I said to the guy, "Oh, it's cancelled." He goes, "Oh well, the 7, whatever clock is turning up, unless that hopefully." And I was like, oh, great. But it turned up. It was in the Elizabeth line. But yeah, that was a bit of a farce too, because we had to tap out because we'd come in on the underground and all this kind of stuff. And it was just kind of like, yeah.
How they can sell you a ticket and then that train doesn't exist, I don't know. But that's happened to us more than once since we've been in Britain.
Well,
so
Transport for Wales, we're talking about you.
We won't get into that right
Windsor
now.
and Eton, Windsor to London and all that. That wasn't Transport for Wales. That was Transport for London, actually. But Transport for Wales, yeah, they words need to be had with them.
Anyway, that was it for that day. We've gone way over time, so
yes,
you're still here listening, we appreciate you.
Yes.
Shout out to our patrons for their continued support. We really appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you all next time.
Talk to you next time, everybody.
Goodbye.